Okay, so this is a quick video on how to strengthen your pelvic floor and who it's important for. And to be honest, this is important for everyone. Everyone should be able to have a strong pelvic floor and just have a healthy pelvic floor. And I don't just mean pelvic floor, I mean your whole inner unit. So intra-abdominal muscles, which is super important for supporting your organs, supporting your sexual organs, especially if you're a female and you've been through a pregnancy. This is a huge thing. And after a pregnancy, you will have to go through a phase of strengthening your pelvic floor. Because for a long period of time, all the muscles have been stretched. They've been in an unoptimal length. Plus, obviously when you have a baby, all the muscles get really stretched and damaged. And over time, ultimately, the muscles become atrophied or they break down a little bit and lose their strength and they lose their size. So it's really important that you have a phase of building your pelvic floor back up, especially after a pregnancy. But if you have any intra-abdominal issues, if you have any pelvic issues or that sort of stuff, this is always a good thing to strengthen. Cool. So let's go through and have a bit of a look. Cool. So just to explain what we're talking about here. So the diaphragm, the transverse abdominis, the multifidus in your spine, and your pelvic floor is ultimately your inner abdominal unit, which is the smaller, less intense muscles. Ultimately, their main role, they all have slightly different functions, but diaphragm is directly related to breathing, but it does, support and hold our internal organs, our digestive system, etc., in that intra-abdominal cavity as well. Transverse abdominis is a round support layer that ultimately supports all our internal organs and keeps them in the right position they need to be in. Pelvic floor, all those pelvic floor muscles ultimately support from the bottom and prevent organs falling out or prevent sexual organs falling out, etc. Multifidus is ultimately a muscle that runs along our spine, creates a bit of stability inwardly from the back side, but also is very important for disc health, that sort of stuff. We're not going to focus so much on the multifidus now. We're going to focus more on transverse abdominis and the pelvic floor. So if you've had hernias or any of that kind of stuff, this is very, very important to be able to strengthen that area, bring tissues back together, all this sort of stuff. Then we've got our outer unit, our bigger, more, not transverse abdominis here, but our bigger external muscles, our external obliques, internal obliques, our rectus abdominis, our six-pack. On the back side, we've got our lumbar rectors, those bigger muscles that run up next to our spine. We're not focusing on those muscles right now. We're focusing on the inner muscles. So if you've ever been to Pilates or this sort of thing, we want to talk about, first of all, how do you engage your inner unit? How do you engage your transverse abdominis, your pelvic floor, etc.? Good way to think about it, if you've been to Pilates and they tell you to draw your belly button into your spine, that's a good start. Ultimately, what we want to think about is, imagine this whole inner section is like a balloon. We want to contract that balloon. We want to compress that balloon. So ultimately, it's going to feel like if you're a man, drawing your balls up, sucking your balls up into your stomach. If you're a woman, tightening your vagina or drawing that up and contracting through there. So drawing up and in, and you'll feel like you can almost, bring your awareness into that internal space. It's almost like you're drawing up and in, and you're sort of compressing all your internal organs by engaging that. You can sort of palpate through here, through the sides, and really feel yourself do it. So it's interesting. I feel like I'm doing it right now, but I'm actually not. I'm contracting my bigger muscles to make myself feel like I'm drawing my belly button in. Bracing would be this. Drawing in isn't so much that. So what can happen when you go to draw in or you go to engage your pelvic floor, your intra-abdominal muscles, is you actually can contract your internal, external obliques a little bit to falsely do that. So what it should look and feel like is more like that. I'm actually, if I palpate around here, I can feel that I'm actually still soft here, but I have drawn my belly button in. So it's interesting. You want to try this in different positions, seated, but first of all, you want to be able to feel that, okay, I am actually engaging the deeper layers. And if you push around your sides, around here, when you do it, when you draw in and up, and you still feel soft there, then you know that you're drawing in and up and you're actually engaging this inner section rather than the internal external oblique. So practice that for a little bit, and you'll be able to feel this deep fatigue if you hold it. So I've got mine on now. I've been holding it for about 10-15 seconds. I'm starting to feel fatigue, but I can also feel that on the outside of if I palpate around the outside of my stomach, that I don't, like it's relaxed on the outside. So first things first is really being able to feel that you can actually contract the pelvic floor and the transverse abdominis in a way that is isolating those muscles specifically. So when you can do that, and you'll know, like if you draw in and you can feel tension through the external muscles, you know that you're engaging them a little bit too much. You just want to feel it internally, and you'll feel that balloon-like compression, but you'll also feel that a little bit of internal fatigue within that balloon as well. You can just feel that it's working. So that's a good indicator of whether you're contracting it right or not. Then what we want to talk about is how to train it. So ultimately what we want to do is, first of all, we want to train it in different, well, first of all, we want to train it and we want to increase our ability of how long we can hold it and engage it for. Because what you'll probably notice is when you first start to engage it, you can feel it, all right, yep, but then you feel that you lose the intensity at which you can hold it, or you feel that you lose the connection, the mind-muscle connection to it, and that awareness. You feel like you can't quite hold it for very long. So what we want to do is ultimately we want to increase the length of time that we can hold it within and feel connected to it, feel like we're building fatigue in that muscle. We're not letting our external muscles take over. We're really working our inner unit. This should make sense now. So first thing is we want to be able to build it up in time. And I want you to be able to have, first stage would probably be 30 seconds, then getting to like 50 seconds or 45 seconds, and then being able to hold it for at a time for over a minute, maintaining that mind-muscle connection, really feeling that internal fatigue, and just feeling that your external muscles don't start to take over. If you can hold it for over a minute for like a couple of times a day and really feel that it's working internally really, really well, then we know we're on the right track, and that's quite good. So we want to just slowly build up. Honestly, depending on where you're at, you can probably do this daily. If this needs to be a real focus for you, if you've just had a baby or if you've just had a hernia replacement or whatever it may be, you might start with 5 seconds. And you build it up to, and then you can get 10 seconds, then you get 15 seconds. We want to build it up to over a minute ultimately. So you can do this every day. I encourage you to probably do this morning and night, and just do 2 to 3 rounds of holds. But you can also just integrate it into your day if you really want to overload doing this for a period of time. And how you do it as well is we want to be able to do it in different positions. So you can do it seated, you can do it lying down, you can do it standing up, you can do it while you're going for a walk. Just so you start to really be able to engage that pelvic floor, that inner unit, in different positions. One other thing I want to say is this shouldn't be something that you have to do forever. Eventually it will just become a natural part, and you'll fix the weakness, you'll strengthen it back up, and it'll just start to engage naturally throughout your life, throughout your activity. And a lot of people do contract it too much and feel like they've got to have it on all the time. Initially, if you've got a real weakness there, yeah, you do want to have that kind of approach, and you really want to double down on it and really create some strength there in that weak point. But once, after 2-3 months of doing that, you will be able to slow down and back off and just, remind yourself that it's there every now and again. So, problems can come from over strengthening it and over activating it as well. So it's about, as within everything, just finding that balance point. But that should give you enough information to really be able to start doing this. So go through this video again, practice engaging, and then just start doing it every day, and just time the amount of time that you can ultimately hold a contraction for. Do it 2 to 3 times, twice a day, and really build that time up. And we want to be able to get to over a minute holds. When we can do that, we know, and we're aware, we can feel the connection, we can feel that our external muscles aren't taking over. We really feel presence within that muscle. We feel that we're really engaging it, or that muscle group. Then we know we're nailing it. Cool. So enjoy that and get to work on training your pelvic floor.